Facebook. It's myself and Szebastian Onne. Hello, how are you today?
I am very well, Stephen. Glad to be back again. And just before we start, I want to read out a little disclaimer. Just the content of this broadcast is neither sponsored nor endorsed, administered, or associated with Facebook or any of its subsidiaries. Facebook is not responsible for the content of this broadcast, and subtitles that will be produced later may not be accurate as they're auto-generated.
Right. Okay. Which brings the first question: Why the statement?
So, different social media channels have different terms and conditions and all that. And of late, dear Facebook has been, making sure that people, release them of any responsibility for the content. And I don't want to go more into it, but I'll just say that quite a few people, quite a few brands are being deleted. They seem to be very compliant of all the terms and conditions, but just because either they have not done the disclaimer or, things that I would say not enough information is out there. So in lack of that knowledge, I wouldn't call it ignorance because it's not ignorance by choice. It is, the information is just not straightforward and not out there. So people are making mistakes, and I personally know one of my brands got erased, and another person I know, more than 200,000 followers, entire brand vanished. So, but that's a topic for another time. So we're just making sure that we're more compliant.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I know it's not happened to other people as well. Right. Let's go to the agenda for today, and
yeah, so I just want to do a very tiny little recap from last time, guys. So I was talking about in the previous episode, personal safety during broadcasting, and we went into reflect principle, and I just explained, before you influence, you need to reflect. And please check out the previous episode to see what reflect really stood for, what it stands for, how it's important before you start creating any content as an influencer. Because as an influencer, you do have great responsibility. You do have fame, you do have recognition, but you have responsibility, because with recognition comes responsibility. So in continuation of that, today we are discussing personal safety during broadcasting, or as I say, personal safety, YAS, just to make it, with the today's generation, I call it personal safety, yes, but it's more than that. Thank you, Stephen, for putting that up for reflect to influence. So if you don't mind putting it up, I'll just read it out to people very quickly and explain what it was if they haven't watched the previous episode.
Okay.
So, sorry, I know I just put you on spot. I apologize. So while that is happening, so I just want to talk about, there we go. So reflect to influence, just remember what your responsibility is. And, you're doing broadcasting to educate people, make it fun-filled. The content should be loyalty inspiring. People should want to come back and watch it again. It should empower them in some or other way. It could be just comedy. It could be how-to. It could be anything, but it should empower them. And they should be creative. I would say, it should be creative, uplift. What I call reflect to influence. And that just makes sure your content is great, your audience is loyal to you, and you're actually creating something valuable for your audience, something that they relate to and they come back for. So jumping onto personal safety, YAS. So what is YAS? So YAS is
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I will tell you what it is. So YAS is your safety, audience safety, and safety of the minors. That's what I call personal safety, YAS, for influencers. Okay. So I'll go into that. And Stephen, again, I talk a lot, so please feel free to interject.
I'd not noticed. I will leap in. Okay.
I know.
Right. Okay. So the first topic is your safety, and this is the broadcaster's safety.
That's right, the safety of the broadcaster. Because first thing is, when you're broadcasting, one similar kind of incident that is being reported worldwide is people are losing their lives, literally losing their lives while broadcasting. The broadcasters are losing their lives. So when I go into that topic, and if you research a little bit more, you'll find people were, broadcasting live on different social media near a river or on a bridge or while driving. And
Indeed,
next
whilst
thing
driving.
and it's what bothers me is, Stephen, yes, some of these people have really great messages. They have real value to add, but the way they are doing it, to me, it kind of nullifies the inspiration. Because when I see you preaching something really good, but you're doing exact opposite, and you're not even following, it's not just only about the safety. They're not following the law. They're not
True.
following the basic common sense. And that's when I question, if you're not even if you're not using basic common sense, if you're not following the law, how can I believe that what you're telling me to follow in my life, you really believe in it, and you really follow it in your life, and it's true? I don't know. I just, for me, the trust is broken. And so reason I say your safety, Stephen, is, as a broadcaster, of course, you're adding great value. You're influencing people, you're inspiring people, you're entertaining them, you're educating them. But if you put your own life at risk for sake of fun, it can, anything can happen. You could end up with a, sorry, go ahead.
No, streaming whilst driving is a big problem. It's not just your own safety that you're affecting the safety of other road users. And if you're distracted whilst driving, it is a real problem. In the UK, we have Don't Stream and Drive Day, and you possibly have an equivalent in Australia. We know there's one in the USA. And just for that day, we try to, or Sergeant TCS on a show hosted by myself and John, raises awareness of why it is a very bad idea to actually stream and drive. Because, as I said earlier, it's not just your own safety, it's safety of the road users. And you can't concentrate. We can only concentrate on one thing at a time, despite our better efforts.
It's, how would you even call it better efforts? Because, as you know, while driving, and I don't know about UK, but in Australia, you're not even supposed to be on hands-free while you're driving, because it has statistics show that it is equally distracting, because your half your senses are divided, and you're not focusing on the other sounds that you need to hear for your safety. So how are you? There is no better way to stream and drive.
True. I mean, there are moves in the UK to do the same, to actually ban mobile phones in cars altogether, including hands-free. I've not seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of people stream and drive, but I haven't seen the examples that you gave. But I'm sure they're out there. And
there are many in Asian countries, especially the river sites, and believe it or not, Paris, Eiffel Tower. It's just a monument. You just go there, but people are walking, live streaming. They're in movement. I'm not even talking about driving. I'm talking about walking. They're live streaming and they're walking, and they're not looking where they're going, and things are happening. And suddenly, boom! It's just the thing is, as you said about other safety. So not only it happens in a blink of a second when you're driving. One, you just blink, and it could be an entire different story, and your attention needs to be there. And I'll go one step further and say, even if somebody else is driving for you and you're live streaming, I'm not even in favor of that. Why, Stephen? Is because the person who's driving is somehow distracted by you because you're live streaming, because there's an attraction towards instant reaction from your audience, because unless you're very well trained, very well coordinated, and you know that, okay, I'm just going to focus on driving, and you go and live stream. But not a lot of people put that much work in planning safety. They
True.
just go live.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the driver is part of your audience. Even if you're there as a passenger, the driver is going to be involved in what you're doing and will be distracted by what you're doing. So I take your point on that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, your safety, I do say, as a broadcaster, I have seen people broadcasting on the road, but there is a sensible way to do that. They park on the side, they make sure they are out of the harm's way, and they park, they turn off the ignition, they put on the brakes, they have the dippers going on so people can see that this is parked, and then they're doing their broadcasting. Now that is okay because you're out of everybody else's way and you're safe yourself, and now you're live streaming. Maybe you have an important message, maybe you want it to be there, whatever your reason is, but you have covered your safety, and as you said, Stephen, everybody else's safety, because on the road, your mistake, how many people it can cost, you don't know.
No, it's the potential damage is you just don't want to think about it. Just don't stream and drive.
Exactly.
Right.
And it is the same as don't text and drive, don't be on phone and drive, don't drink and drive. It is no different. It is exactly the same thing. So I'll segue into audience safety, and we kind of touched on that in your safety as well, because when you're broadcasting and others are at risk because of you driving and broadcasting. The thing is, audience safety is not just that, not just people who are around you. Everybody who is watching you is watching how you behave, is watching how you do things in your life, is watching what kind of a broadcaster you are. And especially the young minds, they are easily influenced. And let me say that with much respect, that young minds are daring. They want to experiment. They see something, somebody's being a daredevil, and they want to try that as well. And that's why, most of the daring shows, you will always say, don't try this at home. And the thing is, people still do. People still do. So it is extremely important as a broadcaster to emphasize not only on those disclaimers, but to do the right thing, to not do anything that could encourage a teenager, a young child, or anybody really, any age, to try things which are not safe for them. And now this audience safety comes in different categories. It's not only what you're doing while you're broadcasting, it's also what you're saying. If you're saying something that's instigating hate, if you're saying something that's instigating irresponsible behavior, or if you're sharing some information that's illegal. I have seen broadcasters saying, oh, you could get away by, from the traffic police by doing this and doing that. It's not a joke. You're actually telling people how to commit a crime. It's not okay. It's really, for you, it might be a joke, but one person, even if one person in that audience who has never committed a crime goes and does something like that, thinking it's a joke, you're thinking it's funny, and they get caught, you just now probably ruined somebody's life. Somebody you don't even know personally, you don't even know, what is happening to them, and they have gone and followed your advice and done something really stupid, and ruined their own, either their career or their life or everything really. So that, plus we have to keep in mind, we don't have a control who is watching us. A broadcaster, there's very, very limited option available. You go to any social media, yes, you can go, okay, above 18 only, 13 to 18 and all that. But there is no guarantee, Stephen, that will work, because I could go and log in. I could be 10-year-old. All I need is a phone and internet. I could go and log in, put any age I like. Do you know what I mean? So how do you know who's watching?
You don't. There is no way we can actually know who's watching. I mean, in this, people on Facebook, people have got to log in. On YouTube, they don't. On Twitter, they don't. On Periscope, they don't. So you have to be aware of the fact that if you are repurposing your content outside Facebook, that you're reaching an audience and you've no idea who's in that audience. And as Szebastian said, I'll get there.
That's an inside joke.
Then I've lost my thread. Then your responsibility is as far as your broadcast reaches. So don't do anything or don't talk about anything which could be illegal. And the other thing is that if you're broadcasting and you're looking for controversy, then all well and good, then go for it and good luck to you. But the majority of people who are actually broadcasting with a purpose, and that purpose is to reach out to an audience and pass on our ideas and our passions and get people involved. So in the world the live video world that we're part of, it's one which is mutually supportive and helpful to each other. And the topics that are discussed are ones which can help people rather than lead people astray.
Exactly. And I will add, Stephen, that look, even if you want to create some controversy, even if you want to be a little bit cheeky, it's free speech. Go ahead and do what you want. Just think one thing. This is one thing that I think in my mind before I broadcast. One day, my child could be watching. My nephew could be watching. My niece could be watching. Somebody I know in my personal life who could be watching this and thinking, I just connected to myself very personally, thinking, oh, if my uncle is saying that, it should be okay to do. So, if I just think it that way, that if somebody in my friendship, my family, my network watches that, and they believe me, they trust me because of who I am and the relationship we have, if they will be influenced, that means I could have same impact on somebody else's nephew, somebody else's child, somebody else's, partner. So I just need to think of that. And that helps me think what I'm going to say, what I'm not going to say. It is not even about censoring myself. Trust me, Stephen, I brand myself as Almost Naked CEO, so I'm very transparent.
Yeah.
I do not have many filters. At the same time, you will not often catch me cussing on, broadcast or giving an idea that's, counterproductive or destructive, because I just remember one thing: one day it could come back to bite me. So
that's true. The vibes that you send out will one day return back to you. And
exactly. And I put it this way, mate, even if you're doing it, just think, if you're giving a criminal advice, you could be arrested yourselves because you're giving evidence. And it is live stream. It is happening in the moment. So once you say it, there is no taking back. You can go and delete it later on, but somebody has already watched it. Somebody has already been impacted. Somebody has already taken a negative action. It's too late.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay.
So, please go ahead.
Which leads into our third topic, yes?
Exactly. So, this is where I mentioned my nephews and niece and children. So, S is safety of minors. No matter who you are, no matter what content you're sharing, no matter how controversial you want to be, just keep in mind there are certain laws, there are certain obligations, there are certain responsibilities we have as citizens towards children. There are certain things children are not supposed to be exposed to. And my simple example is there are certain things you'll never say around your children. There are certain things you'll never do around your children or your nephews or your cousins, little cousins, any minor. There are things you will not say or do around children in your life, however you are connected to them. And there are certain things, if you do them, you are a criminal, you are an offender, and social situations will happen. If you do something wrong, of course, your family is going to react. Those children are going to be affected. So you just have to keep in the same thing in the mind that what I am doing, as you said, you don't know where it's going once you repurpose. Even if you don't repurpose, you do not know who's watching. This is not it's not a licensed medium where you can check, somebody can subscribe and all that. B, you have no control once it's released where it's going. It's gone. Now anybody could be sharing it. They could have anybody in their network. They could be children there, or even somebody is just watching and a child comes behind them and watching. That's all it takes for something wrong to happen.
That's true.
So,
We've been joined by Brigitte. So good morning, Brigitte.
How are you going, Brigitte? I hope you're taking care of yourself. Brigitte, you need to watch from the beginning, because personal safety, your safety is important. So you need to take care of your health. Sorry, guys, I had to lecture Brigitte because I just want her to be looking after herself more. So yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah, I know I'm over. I'm bad.
It's okay. We'll get a rhythm going. I mean, Brigitte and I have been broadcasting for over 2 years now. So, but this is only our second show together. So things will happen. I mean, things will come naturally. And we've got a comment from Brigitte, which I'm going to take. Sure. Right. Okay. I just shrink that. Some people may feel they're doing a late night show, so it's okay to let their hair down. But with live video, it doesn't work because it's always morning somewhere. That's true. We're a 24/7 service. We appear around the globe. And I mean, given today, it may be sort of heading towards 6 a.m. on the East Coast. It's 10:30 a.m. here. It's 7:30 with you?
For me, it's 9:30 p.m.
9:30, right? Yeah.
In New York, it's 6 a.m. In in India, it's 4 p.m. So it's in London. It's you're in London, so it's 11:30 nearly. So yeah, somewhere it's happening. And Brigitte has a great point. I want to just say on the same very point. I have a show called Almost Naked Conversation. The show is all about no censors. It is, as the name says, almost naked. So you're literally putting almost everything out there. But the reason it has almost is you're still keeping in mind privacy laws. You're still keeping in mind safety. You're still keeping in mind responsible behavior. I put it this way. In Australia, we have something called a certificate called responsible serving of alcohol. Anybody who's working in a bar has to have that, and training has to be certified. Why do we have that? It's a place where everybody goes and drinks. So why do we need that? Because you need to know the boundary. You need to know when somebody is having one too much. You need to know what can convert from fun to risk of life. So it applies everywhere in life, is how I see it. You could have controversial content, you could have uncensored things, but just remember who could watch it and what impact it may have.
Now we've talked about normal people actually watching. That's people like you and I, everyday folk, and then there are folk called trolls, and that's a different race. That's a race apart. And do you have any advice for people whose shows get trolled? In other words, people come along, watch your show, and start making comments about not a topic different to your own. And we've got we have a real world example, because Brigitte has been trolled by people who came to talk about couches.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 things I say about trolls. Begin with ignore. Just ignore. The first step always is ignore, because I put it this way: the more you feed a troll, the more it's gonna grow. Ignore is the first step, but I will just contradict myself right away. Second thing is have control. Even though you're ignoring, that doesn't mean it's gonna stop, because at least at the moment when they're starting, they might do everything to try and grab your attention. So have some control on yourself and have some control on the medium you're broadcasting. Understand the medium you're broadcasting on. Understand the moderation tools you have. Understand how can you block or stop things from showing up. And and especially if you're in a platform like this, you can't really control comments and everything. That's okay. Just keep an eye. And I this is where I say, almost naked, I always bring, be transparent with the audience. If you see something like that happening, feel free during the live saying, hey guys, I need to do a little bit of admin. So, keep the conversation. Doesn't matter if you're looking away from the camera. and saying, okay, so I think we have some cheeky people here. Let's just take care of that. I'm just gonna go, and don't say what you're doing. Just say, I'm just taking care of that. Go and ban them. Go and block them.
Well, let's take Brigetti's comment to point. I use the hashtag responsible social media because wherever we put out there needs to be a tempered responsibility, and great advice on trolls. There you go.
Thank you, Brigetti. Yes, so ignore, have control on yourself and on the situation as much as you can. Sometimes you can't. I'll give you an example. On Periscope, you really can't. If you go public, there's no way to moderate. Just anybody can come. There's no control, at least during the live.
Yeah.
So this is where you need the control. That be prepared. This may happen. Ignore. Control yourself, because right now you can't control them. And later on, go and moderate and see what you need to do. And when you can moderate them, control them, the last thing I say is evidence or reporting. If you see something like that happening, collect the evidence right after the show. Go and take screenshots, go and take pictures, and know who your authorities are, know who you can report to. In almost every country in today's day, we have, cyber patrol, we have cyber crime investigation teams and all that. Have that information handy always before actually planning to be a broadcaster. And as soon as you get a chance, the moment you get off your show, please go and take those screenshots, compile it all, send it to the authorities. Don't take it lightly. A lot of the times trolls are fed because they just think, oh, I got away with it. Don't let them get away with it. Don't disturb yourself, but take action.
And the point that I would make as well is you are in control on Be Live, because Live Studio 2. You can see the comments down the side, and you can decide which comments you feature on screen. And simply, the easiest thing to do is do not feature comments from people who you don't recognize saying things you don't understand, because you're just confusing yourself, you're confusing your audience, you're concentrating on the troll, you're not concentrating on the people you should be talking to. Right, I have a question. Yeah. I have a question for Brigetti. Brigetti, could you, out of 10, give a score where 10 is good, 1 is bad, for our video feeds at the moment, individually?
Yes.
That would be most helpful, and then I'll explain why in a second. Right.
So Brigetti is that. I just want to add one more thing, Stephen.
Yep.
In all that, in responsible, look, still have fun. Don't overstress yourself. Don't just get all by the book and everything. Yes, do the right thing. Have fun. Share what you want to share. Just always, literally, just remember who could be watching. Okay, 10, both good. I like that.
Wow. Okay. That's very good. I'm impressed by that. Thank you, Brigetti. Right. Okay.
So, Brigetti, that means you and I are getting on a show soon. I'm kidding.
We need a lot of 10s. We really do need 10s. Right. Well, there you go. That's time just flew by.
There you go. So that's it. So, Stephen, I just want to thank you for helping me get this important message out there, because as we're calling this, rock your live streaming, it is not all about just having fun and just rules and everything. A good combination, and the most important thing is to live stream, you're becoming part of people's life. So just treat it that way.
Respect.
Exactly.
All right. From the UK and from Melbourne, Australia, we say see you later. And Brigetti, thank you for the score.
See you guys.